Hello and welcome to Eye on the Money, the television show that gives you insights into how to improve your financial well-being as well as make your money work for you. I'm Ingrid Nantege. Now in today's episode, we explore unit trusts and everything you need to know before making that investment decision. According to a report by the Capital Markets Authority, unit trusts have grown in acceptance and popularity in recent years. This is evidenced by the growth in the number of approved unit trust funds from virtually zero in 2001 to 11 in 2008. Unit trusts have proved to be the small investors' answers to achieving wide investment diversification without the need of prohibitive sums of money. Joining me in studio to discuss unit trusts and why they are a viable investment is Joyce Gitau, the Head of Business Development at Old Mutual Investment Services. You're very welcome, Joyce.
Thank you very much, Ingrid.
Thank you very much for joining us here today to discuss this very complex issue in some people's minds of unit trusts.
Okay.
Now, if we start with the basics from the beginning, what are unit trusts?
Well, it's not very complex. It's an investment channel or vehicle that allows you to invest in treasury bills, in shares, in bonds, that just allows you to invest in the stock market without actually you doing that directly. You invest through a professional who's a fund manager and through pooling of resources. So your fund, somebody else's funds, and you pull that together and you invest in the various funds. That's what we call, just in general, unit trusts. So investing in the stock market, T-bills, bonds, through a channel or through a vehicle for your investments.
Now, you've mentioned a wide array of different areas in which I can invest, from the stock market to T-bills to, the variety of other areas that you said I can invest in. So as a person who's interested in investing in unit trusts, how can I go about zeroing in on exactly where to invest? What's that process like?
So the first thing you have to have is a goal. You want to save up for holiday, you want to buy a car, you want to put some money aside for school fees, you have a project that you want to complete, you sold off an asset, you want to place money somewhere, so you have to have a goal as an individual. The other thing that you look at is, what is your risk profile? Are you risk averse? Do you like to take risks? And you determine how long, what you call an investment or horizon, how long you want to invest. Do you want to invest for a year, short term? Do you want to invest for 5 years or 10 years, long term? So that is the beginning. You ask yourself those kind of questions. Then you look at how much do you have and where do you start?
So you talked about, and it's like you said, it might not sound complex to you, but when people hear things like stock market, this is not something that someone encounters on a daily basis. T-bills. So you brought in there the aspect of a fund manager.
Yes.
Who is a fund manager, and what is their role when it comes to me deciding to invest in unit trusts? And also, are they a vital part of this? Can I do without them?
So a fund manager is an institution that is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority to manage funds for individuals, for institutions. So yes, an individual can trust a fund manager because they are regulated and they're professionals, because not everybody's an expert in the stock market. You might want to buy a particular share. You might want to buy a T-bill, probably you don't even know what that is. But if you go through a fund manager, they'll be able to guide you on what investments to do, but this is through a vehicle. You can buy shares directly, however, you will need to do a lot of research, go through a stockbroker and find out, is it the correct share that I'm buying, or is it people are telling me about this shares, or hearsay that you've had from people, yet you're not the professional. We're not experts. We're not all experts in financial services or in financial matters. That's why you rely on a fund manager to do that for you. And through various funds, we've got various funds that suit somebody's risk profile to be able to invest. For instance, let me give you an example. One fund is a money market fund, which is a short-term kind of investment for somebody whose risk appetite is, they are risk averse. They don't really like much risk. So, for example, if they have 10,000 shillings and they give you that 10,000 shillings, They don't want at the end of the day to have 9,000 or 8,000. So what we do, we invest in the money market fund, which is a short-term, low risk, what you call low risk, low return. So they will get a decent, a modest kind of a return on the investments, but it will not fluctuate, what we call in investment terms of volatility. It will not go up and down. So we'll get something small, but your 10,000 is intact. So depending on your risk, so you will invest in a money market fund. Money market fund now invests in treasury bills, deposits, fixed deposits. So in terms of risks, it's low in terms of the risk for the money market fund. So when somebody is starting out, probably they've not saved an emergency fund. They would probably start on a money market. They're new in investment, they would start on money market and then grow from there to other funds. So that is just one of the funds that is available. If you allow me, I could talk about the other fund, right, which is an equity fund, purely investing in the stock market. So you're not an expert in buying the shares. You invest in the, for instance, Old Mutual equity fund. So through the fund manager, is able to select a number of shares. You pool your resources. Ingrid brings your money, I bring my money, somebody else. So we invest together and we're able to share the cost together and invest in the equity fund. So it's a high risk fund and high return. Yeah, high risk, high return. However, it has its volatility, meaning the fund can go up and can go down. But we usually recommend that you invest for a long period of time for you to realize the gains of your investment. Yeah.
Now, just to build on your last point,
yes,
in the Kenyan context, I know you've mentioned some of the few, but just for depth and for information, what are the unit trusts currently available in the market that people can look into investing?
So various players have various unit trusts. However, I'll mention there's money market fund. You have what we call a balanced fund, which is a mix where you have a bit of shares, you have a bit of T-bills, you have bonds, you have deposits. So for those investors who are moderate in terms of their risk profile, they're moderate in terms of they don't want too much risk. So you have a balanced fund. We have a bond fund. There are bond funds available if you want to venture into the world of bonds. You don't know how to. You don't know how to go about it. Through a fund manager, you can be able to invest these funds. So these funds are available in different players in the market. We publish prices daily in the newspapers. You can be able to see in your local dailies to see the performance of these unit trust funds.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about, finally, the investment has happened.
Yes.
What are some of the benefits as the person who's invested, as the investor?
Yeah.
I'm going to accrue from investing in unit trust. Why should I even bother?
Okay. Number one is professional advice. As I mentioned, not everybody's an expert. Normally, investment people get to hear from a friend, a relative, if something is good. If something is bad, probably you tell so many people, but you get professional advice. Number two, unit trusts are what you call open-ended. If you put in your investment, you can redeem or withdraw whenever you need your money. You're not fixed you're not fixed for 5 years, you're not fixed, it's not contractual, meaning you can put your money and if there's a need that arises, you'll be able to pull out that money. If, for instance, you've achieved your goal, I will not tell you, Ingrid, that you cannot pull out your money until 3 years are over or 10 years are over. So you do not lose out on your investment. So you have your goal and you can be able to withdraw your money whenever you need it. Yes. There's also security because the funds are regulated by the Capital Markets Authority. They're published daily in the local papers. There's Old Mutual is a reputable firm. So there's security in terms of your investments. You're not losing out on your investment. So these are advantages. There's also flexibility to switch between the different funds. For instance, if you are in the money market fund and you think you want to take a bit of risk, then you can switch to an equity fund, for instance. Yeah, so those are the few benefits of the fund.
With every business, and with every benefit,
yes,
there's a risk.
Yes.
is there no risk involved in unit trusts? And if there are, what are the risks I should look out for? Because people would like to know, like, if I'm going into this, how much caution should I take? What am I going to face? So on that side of the risks, what are the risks involved in unit trusts?
So it goes back to the goal and goes back to an individual. Everybody is different. You might not like any risk at all. There's somebody else probably who would want more risk in terms of their investment. And as I mentioned, high risk, high return, low risk, low return. So if you're talking about anything about risk, probably it's just not being informed on the right investment to right unit trust to invest in. So if you do not like any risks at all, then you invest in an equity fund. Equity fund, remember I've mentioned, it's investing in shares, and the nature of shares, it will go up and down. So the risk is in this point. You've put in your 10,000 and the fund value has gone down to 8,000. Then you want to withdraw your money, then you will lose 2,000 shillings. But you only lose when you withdraw the money. In investment terms, we call it, you've actually crystallized the loss. But if you do not withdraw your fund, it means you've not lost anything. It's just paper loss. So it's for you to wait until the fund appreciates. So in terms of risk, it's an individual. As I mentioned, we're different. So it depends on your choice of investment. So if you don't like taking risks, then you invest in the money market. Probably you've retired, you've sold off a property, you've just gotten some money, you don't know what to do with it, put it in the money market fund. If you're a long-term investor and you're looking at growing your fund, capital growth, over a long period of time, then take the risk and do the equity fund and have the long-term investment. There's market volatility, it will go up and down. Eventually, you'll be able to make money on your investment.
Right.
Yeah.
This is very, very enlightening.
Yeah.
We're going to carry on this discussion in a minute. Okay. However, I have to take a very, very quick break.
Sure.
And when we come back, we're going to carry on. As usual, you can be part of the conversation by sending your comments and feedback to our social media handles at Metropole TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't go anywhere.